I'm Audrey Allen. On behalf of the Planning Commission, I welcome you all to today's Planning Commission meeting. It is Tuesday, November 12th, and it is 9 a.m. Before we get going, I must read to you, so bear with me. Planning Commission meetings are open to the public, and members of the public may attend in person, and the meetings are also virtual, and the public may attend via virtual Zoom. Lyon County allows alternatives for public comment. If you're attending the virtual Zoom meeting, public comment may be provided by raising your hand and requesting to provide public comment. This can occur in several ways, including dialing *9 from your phone to raise your hand and request to speak. To unmute yourself, dial *6. You can also provide public comment for this meeting by sending an email to Brandy Lathrop at blathrop@lyon-county.org the day prior to the posted meeting date. Be sure to type public comment on the subject line. Written public comments may also be mailed to the Lyon County Community Development Office at 27 South Main Street, Yerington, Nevada, 89447. But all public comments must be received prior to the date of the meeting if the comments are to be included in the supplemental materials. Any written public comment received the day of the meeting will be compiled and added as supplemental materials to the county's website and distributed to the Planning Commission within 24 hours after the meeting. Members of the public may attend the meeting in person here at the Greg Honeywell Lyon County Commission Chambers, which we're in, 27 South Main Street, Yerington, Nevada. And I'll talk a little bit more about public comment and related meeting information and item number 3 under the heading Public Participation. Action will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted, and no action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place your electronic items, cell phones and such, in the silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of the comments, but not restrict comments based on viewpoint. So roll call. I'll go in the order I've got them listed on my sheet. Michael Carlson.
Here.
Loretta Sell.
Here.
Konstantin Kuzmicki.
Here.
Ralph Ewing.
Here.
Mark Jones.
Here.
Shannon Sarasola. And me. We have a quorum. And now item, the Pledge of Allegiance. Shannon, will you please lead us?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so public participation. Like I mentioned, no action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. Members of the public who wish to address the Planning Commission may approach the podium and speak on matters related to the Lyon County Planning Commission, but not on items appearing on the agenda. The speakers are asked to state their name for the record, to sign and print their name on the form at the lectern. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic. The commission reserves the right to reduce this 3-minute time limit, as well as limit the total time for public comment. If your item requires extended discussion, please request to calendar the matter for a future Planning Commission meeting. To reiterate, the Planning Commission will not restrict comments based on viewpoint. The same applies to public testimony on each agenda item. The chair may reopen public participation at any time during the meeting. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? Okay, I'll hear a motion.
I move we, accept the, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, accept the agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. We have a couple of them here, one from September 10th, 2024, and one from October 8th, and we'll speak of them separately. Has everyone had a chance to review the amendments that were requested to the September 10th meetings? Okay, and if they're sufficient, I'll hear a motion.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Pardon? September 10th, 2024. Okay. Okay. When we have a motion and a second by Michael Carlson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that motion carries for the minutes of September 10th. Now, I'll ask if everybody's had a chance to review the October 8th meeting minutes. And if there are no amendments or discussion, I'll hear a motion.
I motion to accept the meeting minutes from the October 8th, 2024 meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstain. Abstain.
Okay, thank you. One abstention. Motion passes for the minutes of October 8th, 2024.
Might be a point of order on that. The minutes say he was here.
But it does say that he left
Yeah,
also.
it says he left, so he should.
Okay.
I lost my connection. I couldn't hear it.
Okay,
So
all right. All right, so have we received any advisory board reports other than what has
We
been
got some this month.
submitted to us? Okay. I'll take that as. Okay, let's move on to item number 7, all the way to the public hearing items. And this one's for possible action. And this is to forward a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Dayton Village LLC for a conditional use permit for non-restricted gaming on land subject to CC community commercial zoning located at 2 Dayton Village Parkway in Dayton on an approximate 1.09 acre parcel, APN 016-403-48 PLZ 2024-046.
Good morning, Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director. Just had a brief statement before we proceed with the conditional use permit application. I'd like to clarify how we are addressing the issue with regards to adequate public facilities in the light of the ongoing design challenges with the Aspen Creek Rapid Infiltration Basins, or we call them RIBs. Due to these issues, the finding of adequate public facilities ultimately cannot be met in its entirety at this time. However, to allow this and similar applications to move forward, we are proceeding with finding F, as you see in the staff report, as being considered met when the capacity becomes available, as designated by Lyon County. This approach provides us a pathway forward for applicants while acknowledging our infrastructure limitations and ensuring that final approvals are contingent upon future capacity. The applicant understands the circumstances and chose to move forward with the application, and that's why we're here. With that being said, I'll let Lisa Nash take it over.
Thank you, Gavin. That was gonna be my only question. And our staff presenting is Lisa Nash.
Thank you. Good morning,
morning.
Commissioners. Lisa Nash, Senior Planner. Thank you, Gavin, for the statement, because I'll be discussing it slightly, but that, again, we're still investigating and don't have a lot of answers at this point. So today we're here to talk about Dayton Village LLC and CUP to add unrestricted gaming for Dottie's Casino. So the location of the project is at 2 Dayton Village Parkway, and it is located directly adjacent to the east of the grocery outlet that's there, kind of behind the McDonald's. So access is via existing entrances that already exist off of Highway 50 and Dayton Village Parkway. So there will be no additional road work or anything done as part of this project. It is actually the last parcel they're developing in that little commercial development. So up here, I put the site plan is on the left. It shows the proposed shell of the building, as well as additional parking that's being added is in gray. And then on the right side, I included this one because it's the landscape plan where they're going to be adding landscaping, buffering the parking, and it'll kind of finish off that development, which has been under construction for a while. So it'll be an improvement for the area. So here I just have a picture of building elevations. I think everybody's probably come across a Dottie's here and there, but it's right in line with all their existing buildings. Per Title 15, non-restricted gaming within a commercial district requires the attaining a conditional use permit. This parcel is within the suburban character district of Dayton, and the designation for the property zoning is commercial. And I'm sorry, the land use designation under the master plan is commercial. The parcel is zoned C2 under Title 10, which is general commercial district, which under the consistency matrix means it is CC, community commercial, and those are the development standards the project's held to. There is an administrative design review that was submitted at the same time as this project. We've held off a little on finishing that until the CUP is complete, but it will go into more detail on all the development standards that must be upheld. This one is pretty simple, however, since it's an existing development and they're just finishing out the building. You can see here the zoning district. It is surrounded by community commercial all around, and then outlining it a little further are multifamily residential and neighborhood residential. So it fits well in the area. Chapter 15.230.06 of Lyon County Code lists the findings required for the Planning Commission to forward any recommendation to the Board of Commissioners on a conditional use permit. I have gone into a little bit of some of the highlights. Staff does feel that it is consistent with the master plan's contemplated use for this community commercial land within a suburban character district. The applicant is going to be responsible for meeting all the conditions in this CUP, as well as any additional more specific building conditions that will be involved in the ADR. As I had said, this is the last lot being developed in this commercial development. The traffic studies were done and have been updated as each item has come in, as well as the impacts on the surrounding areas have been looked at. The utility stubs are already there for the project, and this has been reviewed each time an ADR has come in on this project. We don't feel that this increases the planned intensity in develop for that building. Under the overall plan that was first submitted, this was a 10,000 square foot building, and they're bringing it down to 8,500. And the use numbers are actually lower than you could have had under other commercial or retail uses. So we're also kind of excited about the proposed landscaping, which will finish that off, make it look better, and definitely add improvements to the area in general. And then, as Gavin mentioned, there was an additional condition added, condition 8, that the county will not issue final approval or allow occupancy of the property until the sewer service is provided by Lyon County. We do feel that this can move forward with that based on those items. And additionally, at this point, the applicant is the builder that is going to develop the shell of the building. The tenant will be Dottie's, and they're gonna finish off the interior improvements and things like that. So with that said, I realize I made an error in condition 6, and I'm requesting that if you guys feel comfortable, we'll amend it, or I'll bring it forward to the Board of Commissioners, but it's stating that specifically the tenant shall maintain the Lyon County business license as opposed to the builder. And I just made an error in catching that the applicant was the builder. I missed that the applicant was the builder, not the tenant. So I wanted to suggest that, and subject to the recommended conditions approval and the amendment to condition 6, we feel we are able to recommend approval of the conditional use permit. And I guess I should have added along the way, you all read in the staff report, but it is for 100 gaming machines, which is what kicked it into the unrestricted. Non-restricted stays below 15. And with that, I am available for questions. The applicant, when
Well,
you're
we'll
done with
ask
me-
for statements from him
Correct.
in a moment, but right now, does the board have any questions for Lisa? And we'll start down there with Loretta.
Not right now.
Jen?
Okay, thank you.
And Michael?
No, good. I have none.
No. Okay,
I have a couple
Mark.
concerns. I looked at the floor plan, there's only 86 slot machines in there, there's still, for the record, so this is just a mock-up of what might be
The application was for up to 100.
up to 100.
So we capped it at 100. They can choose to put less, but yes, it was up to 100.
And as we were talking just a few minutes ago, I wasn't really clarified what you were saying to me, but we put out a proposition to approve here and set it up there to require hotel rooms for X amount of machines. And did that just go up into the cloud or?
I'm gonna ask, Community Development Director Gavin to address that for you.
Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director. Yes, we received a request from the commission to draft an ordinance with the direction provided. Obviously, we have other standing ordinances in place, and with the circumstances now involved, we just haven't had an opportunity to get to that item quite yet.
was it the commission actually who requested that?
Correct.
Okay,
No,
We
the
did.
planning commission, sorry.
okay.
So we had the presentation, we had the discussion. The commission told staff to go back, draft an ordinance. There was minimal direction, so that was another hurdle we were working through, but obviously we had, you know, a stack of ordinances to get to. And with the circumstances now in play with the affluent capacity issues, we just haven't had that time to address that.
So does it, at this point, Gavin, since the Board of County Commissioners has not acted on this, there is provision for this project to go forward as is, the
Correct.
way it was submitted.
Correct.
And
Yes,
so, yeah, and that's where we're at with this.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Connie, do you have any questions?
Yeah,
Lisa.
on the staff comment, okay. The applicant acknowledges and understands that Lyon County utilities do not currently have the effluent disposal capacity to provide sewer service, and final approval and occupancy of the project will be delayed until the sewer service can be provided by the county. So basically, this whole thing is dependent on sewer service, correct?
The, being able to occupy the building is, yes. And the sewer service, we expect will come. We just don't know how soon, and we're trying to give the applicant a way to move forward in the meantime. But it may reach a point where it has to sit and wait.
Okay.
This is actually a large dotty.
Okay.
They're normally small. So I've never seen a dotty with 100 machines before, so that's a pretty excited.
Excuse me, you're just speaking out of turn, mister.
I wasn't done before you took over.
Before
time.
Connie,
You took
before,
over-
no,
took over my time. I was still had more questions to ask her. That's why.
okay, all right. Do you have any more, Mark?
No, I'm good now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Because actually it was Connie's turn who he was speaking. And so anyway, so just for the record, Mark had an additional question. So the applicant is here. Okay, would you like to speak or do you think she covered everything sufficiently?
Hello, I'm Scott Gibson. I'm the architect on the project. I'm from-
Scott, who?
Scott Gibson.
Scott Gibson? Okay, would you please sign in when you get a
I
minute?
have a-
Okay, thank you.
I'm the architect for the project. I'm from Lyon, but pretty close by. We do not take any exceptions to the conditions of approval. I just want to let you know that we're okay with that. We would like to speak a little bit about the sewer system. And notwithstanding what Mr. Gavin said, Henderson, but we're probably about 9 to 10 months minimum if we started today on the construction documents before we even got to the point where the shell would be ready for the tenant improvement. The tenant improvement is probably gonna take about 3 months to happen, so we're probably over a year away. And I think you understand that we can proceed at our own risk with the drawings and construction drawings, but it may sit for a while, but we would think within a year that the system should be in place. I wanted to point out one thing, that we only have basically 9 fixture units in the building, which is basically like 2 houses.
Didn't we ask you to
He's trying. They wouldn't shut off.
quiet your
I've been there, had
devices?
it's turned off. But- So it's a very small use. I mean, it really is a small use, and it's not like a full blown restaurant. It's really just bar food where they're heating up pre-made foods. They're not making any food per se, except for just basically heating it up and
Thank you for that.
and washing dishes and stuff. So it's a very low use on it, but that's what I want to say. But we're here for a conditional use permit. We'd like to get that, just keep things moving with the process. But we would sure love some consideration to, it really is a low level type of use. We're not going to use a lot of capacity.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Appreciate it. I appreciate also the fact that developers would not want their projects just to sit in the event all of this sewer stuff does get resolved, they're ready to move forward. So yeah, that's a good thing. And I'm glad you're allowing provision for it. Does the board have any questions or problems with the amendment on item 6 with the change, the amendment to say the tenant instead of the applicant?
No, but I do have a quick question. for
Okay,
staff.
okay, Shannon has a question.
So I just want to clarify too on the sewer situation. Excuse me, the sewer situation. My understanding is no matter what the use is, it comes from a state requirement that we can't allow any new occupancy permits based on the percentage of use currently, correct? So even if we, it's, we're being governed by the state. No. I want to make sure if it's at the state level or a county level.
Just a minute,
Yeah,
too.
sure.
Nobody wants that question.
Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director. Unfortunately, we can't answer that question specifically right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is, I don't think there are any more questions of you, Lisa, but is there any public participation? No? Okay, seeing none, I'll hear a motion.
All motion. Based on the aforementioned findings and the following conditions of approval, I move that the planning commission recommend approval to the board of county commissioners for the request from Dayton Valley LLC for conditional use permit to allow for non-restrictive gaming on land subject to community commercial CC zoning generally located at 2 Dayton Village Parkway in Dayton on approximately 1.09 acre parcel APN 016-403-48, PLZ 2024-04, conditions of approval, 1046, sorry. Conditions of approval, 1 through 9, with a change on 6 that says tenant instead of applicant.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any in opposition? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 7B. And actually, this 7B and C is one project, one applicant, one project.
Yeah.
But we will, is your pleasure to present them together and then we vote on them second, or do you want to take them one by one?
Lisa Knapp, Senior Planner. I would prefer we take them one by one.
Okay.
Let's complete the master plan.
Okay.
And then hear the zoning.
Okay,
document. There will be similar slideshows, but let's keep it clean up.
okay. Okay,
All right,
up to you.
thank you. Okay, so this application is from Carol Abanion for a master plan amendment. So the applicant is requesting a master plan amendment to change the designation from agriculture to rural residential on a 57.16 acre parcel in Smith Valley. The stated future intent is to then next here, a zone map amendment that would change from the Title 10 RR5, which is the 5th rural residential district with a 20-acre minimum zoning to an RR10, which is under Title 15, and it's rural residential 10 acres minimum. The intent overall for the project is to ultimately divide the property into 4 parcels of at least 10 acres. And I will get into why they're looking at that instead of RR5 in a moment. Probably pushed it twice now. Here we have the aerial map from the assessor's page where you can see the property outlined in red. It's a rather large property that is located at 299 Upper Pauling Road, and the parcel map is on the right side. Thank you. It doesn't like me. So this is for APN 0102661-16. And as you can see in this plan, it's pretty rocky and there's a steeper slope on the west side and it grades across to relatively flat on the east. And there are some old ponds from some previous development on the property, as shown in kind of the northeast corner. So the current master plan designation is agriculture, as you can see on the left-hand map. The applicant is proposing to change it to rural residential, which is shown on the right. And as you can see, the properties to the north and in various spots around Smith Valley are all designated rural residential for the clusters of development for the most part, and a little bit of low density residential, which is the yellow. I thought I'd throw the zoning up here to show as well. The zoning in the area is predominantly RR20 or subject to RR20 conditions. It would be mapped on the assessor's page as RR5 under Title 10, but the same zoning of 20 acre minimum. You can see the grouping above to the north is RR5. And they are looking to go to an RR10 zoning with a 10 acre minimum, but we'll get to that more in the next application. So these are the list of findings that are required for the Planning Commission to consider a master plan amendment. And I will go into some of the highlights on this. We do feel that it is consistent with the master plan policies of agriculture and rural residential growth patterns within the Smith Valley community. The master plan specifically states to, that agriculture and rural residential are the two primary uses, and clustering groups of rural residential is the desire of the master plan overall. We do feel it's compatible with the existing developments nearby, and most of those parcels are 5 to 7 acres when you look at the ones to the north. And then, around the area, the other areas that are already rural residential run from basically 2 to 10 acres, roughly. Part of the reason the applicant is that parcel has never been very conducive to farming. And the agricultural use of it is sitting there unused for the most part because of the slopes and the rocky nature of it. And we feel this would be aligned with the adjoining residential properties. Therefore, also, it's not a new or incompatible use. And for infrastructure, the whole area out there, there's no infrastructure, there's no water, sewer, so it's septics, on-site disposal systems, as well as wells. And we don't feel that this will add any infrastructure, and 4 lots would not add a significant traffic or need any improvements to the roadways. So with that, we are recommending you forward a recommendation of approval. There are the wordings in the staff report, as well as if you choose to continue or deny. And I've included the motion here for you if you'd like to see it.
Okay.
And I'm here for questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board to Lisa? Okay, we'll start with Connie.
No, it's good.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I have just a kind of a comment to make about agricultural. That's kind of a broad term when you come to zoning. It's my understanding that this property had a fishery on it. And there, which is not required to have a bunch of ground leveled and everything else to do it, probably with the ponds. So to me, it doesn't even seem like an agricultural property because it's never had agriculture on it. I guess you could call it fishery agriculture, but that's why it's kind of a broad thing. There is a well on the property. But it's an ag well that would be pumped down from other reasons. So I'm very much in support of this because it can't be farmed. It just cannot be. So to me, it is not agricultural. So I will be voting in favor of it.
Are there any other questions by the board? Do you have anything? No. What about you, Michael?
No, I'm good.
Shannon, thank you. Laura?
No, I'm good.
I have one last statement. You received a late, some late
Yes.
submittals.
I was
And-
going to address that, but go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah, and they do bring up the ponds and the potential use of the property, et cetera. At this level, the uses and how that would be developed is not strictly applicable, and the fact that they're going to a lower density than they could have, staff would have found it acceptable to take a recommendation of a 5-acre minimum. However, the 10 acres allows them to deal with the slopes, the rocky nature of the existing ponds, and still make development. Additionally, we do have a response from the Smith Valley Citizens Advisory Board, which is great. They voted 3-1. We don't have any statement about why it was voted against, and we will try to work with the CABs in the future so we know what the opposition or what the reason, what condition they felt it couldn't meet.
Okay,
But for now, I wanted to bring that up and put it on the record.
all right. Thank you for that. Is there any public participation on this project?
Does not look like it.
Madam Chair, I got one more question, please. What is the zoning below, south of that property? I see the county boundary is going down there. But
It's generally RR20, and then there is further down south, the zoning, there's a chunk of low density residential, as well as moving off to the east, there's some more rural residential 5-acre.
Okay, so that looks like a mountain down. It's not BLM land stuff, still county land, just no zoning on it.
Yeah, well, no, actually, that is the county boundary. So below that is forest land, US Forest Service, I think most of it.
To the west of it, southwest of it.
Oh. don't remember off the top.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I was just curious what the adjacent,
I believe it's
Properties were
Phelan
down
Lane,
there.
which means it wouldn't be zoned. Okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
if you're going to speak, sir, you need to come to the podium.
thank you, Lisa, I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, is the applicant here and would you like to say anything? Okay, I didn't ask that before I asked for public participation, but you're more than welcome to speak.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Rick Christian with Denton Survey, and I'm here on behalf of the applicants in regards to the Title F over D item that is for you this morning. I will bring it to your attention that Carol Banyan is in the audience if you have any specific for her. Basically here, just to answer any questions you may have.
Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Christian, did you say? Say none. Thank you. Okay, so we have the presentation to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to request a master plan amendment from Carol O'Banion to amend the master plan designation from agriculture to rural residential located at 299 Upper Colony Road in Smith Valley on approximately 57.16 acre parcel. And that's APN 010-261-16 PLZ 2024-047. We have no public participation requests. Hearing that presentation, I will and questions by the board, I'll hear a motion. I'm at a motion state at this point.
I'll make a motion based on the aforementioned, I'm Shannon Sarasolo, Commissioner. Based on the aforementioned findings, I move that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners of the request by Carol O'Bannon for a master plan amendment to amend the master plan designation agricultural to rural residential on approximately 57.16 acre parcel located at 299 Upper Colony Road in Smith Valley. APN 010-261-16 PLZ 2024-047.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Ralph. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that motion passes. Now, without that, we couldn't hear the second one, really. Or it wouldn't have, you could have heard it, I guess, but.
Yeah.
So Lisa, are you going to present then a recommendation by us to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Carol O'Banion for a zoning amendment to amend the zoning map designation from Title 10 District of RR 5, 5th Rural Residential District, 20 acres, to the Title 15 District of RR 10, Rural Residential, 10 acre minimum, located at 299 Upper Colony Road in Smith Valley on an approximately 57.16 acre parcel, APN 010-261-16 PLZ 2024-048.
Hi, Lisa
Hi.
Nash, Senior Planner, and I'm here to present the next. So, as you stated, the applicant's requesting the zone change from Title 10 RR5 to Title 15 RR10 with the intent of dividing this property in the future into 4 parcels, a minimum of 10 acres. With this, I will add, they have the right to divide up to 5 parcels if they wanted. I think the constraints were probably limited, but giving this approval will allow them up to 5 lots. They will have to do a part, well, actually, 5 will put them into a subdivision, 4 keeps them at a parcel map. So it's up to them to decide how they want, and you would see that application before you in item 3 in the future. So again, the property, same one we just discussed at 299 Upper Colony Road in Smith Valley. And the exact same information we just went over with the APN, 57.16 acres, and the topography being steep on the east, grading down to relatively flat on the west. Oh, backwards.
It's back.
On the west, grading down to the east. All right, so the zoning. Here's the request is change showing what the future zoning map would look like. And they are asking to change to a less intensive use than the RR5 parcels, which are in green above. And all the two in the middle are still designated as RR20 when we did the changes and everything up to the new Title 15. However, they are only 7 acres. They will never be able to be developed at a greater intensity without coming in for a zone change or something. So they have the right to put one residence on those or to use them as farming if they choose, but that's the limits of what they can do with it. And as I spoke earlier, based on the reality of the slopes on the west side and the existence of the former ponds and other items on site, they have chosen the RR10 to make the request. So it is a little bit out of character. However, it is a better, lower intensity use, and we never try to dissuade that when an applicant wants to do that with their property. And it does feel that the 10 acres are the most feasible. So with that, I'm going to go right into the findings. Here's the list from chapter 15 to 2005 of findings for a zone map amendment. These are the ones required to be met. And I'm going to go into each of these in a little more details. We do feel that the master plan itself allows RR10 zoning within the now newly adopted rural residential master plan land use, which we just passed. And we do feel that it is compatible with the existing lots, which are 7 acres directly, the two above, and 5 acres up above that. And it does fit with the master plan with no sewer or water utilities available in the area and requiring the on-site sewage disposal and residential wells, which are present on surrounding property. We don't feel any additional need for public services will be required. And as this amendment is under finding C, consistent with the master plan designation of rural residential, we don't feel this would significantly increase density in a very rural area, and it wouldn't introduce a new or incompatible use as rural residential specifically called out in the master plan. Additionally, this is a proposed zoning change that is grading down the map from north to south, from 5 acre RR5 zoning to 7 acre to these 10 acre lots, then back to the larger 20 acre RR20, which is around the area. So we feel it's a good transition, and it does make sense in a case where we normally wouldn't encourage what might be considered spot zoning. However, in a rural residential area, we do, as staff, like to see something that decreases intensity over what could be done versus continuing to always increase the density without thoughts of the effects. So with that, oops, you can skip those, go all the way to the last. So, we do recommend that the commission forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of Commissioners based on the findings. And there's a motion up there if you would like to use it. And I'm here for questions.
Thank you. Loretta, do you have any questions?
No.
Shannon?
No.
Thank you. Michael? Rob?
I'm good.
No.
Good.
Really? Okay, thank you. Connie?
Hey, I got a question for you. Page 36, they divided the parcels. I see like 6 parcels there. Which 4 are gonna be the residential ones?
This isn't
Are you
part of-
looking at the assessor's plat map?
This isn't part of it.
No.
This is.
Yeah, are you looking at the assessor's plat map?
Yeah.
Okay, they haven't shown how they will divide
Okay.
the 4 yet. The 6 above it are the existing lots. And I just outlined, they did not provide me with a plot plan showing what they might do, because I think they were waiting to see if they would get through this process before doing that.
Is it as clear as mud now?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm
Thank you.
curious.
All right. Would the applicants like to speak, or has she done a sufficient job? Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment on this project?
Nope, doesn't look like it.
Okay, doesn't look like it. I'll do a motion.
All motion. Based on the aforementioned findings, I move that the planning commission forward a recommendation of approval to the Board of County Commissioners as a request by Carol Banyan for a zoning map amendment to amend the zoning map designation from the Title 10 district of RR 5, Fifth Rural Residential District, 20 acres, to the Title 15 district, RR 10, or residential 10-acre minimum on approximately 57.16 acre parcel located at 299 Upper Colony Road in Smith Valley, APN 010-361-16, PLZ-2024-048.
I'll
Okay.
second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Any abstaining? Seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
We are now on item 7D, and for this is for possible action to forward a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Tract Capital Management LP for a master plan amendment from rural residential to specific plan on approximately 460 acres of 6 parcels that total approximately 1,070 acres located west of US Highway A95 or 95A. I don't know how I transposed that. And north of US Highway 50 in Silver Springs, APNs 015-091-08, 015-111, 01, 02, 04, 05, and 06, PLZ 2024-066. And again, this is one project with 3 different uses. And so, your pleasure, do you want to go through them separately, like Lisa did? Okay. And staff presenting is Louis Carriola, Senior Planner.
That's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Louis Carriola, Senior Planner presenting. As alluded to by the chair, the next 3 items on the agenda today are all part of the same project and all submitted by the same applicant. You might have noticed that the project description for each of the items is identical. The submittal materials had one project description, so we did elect to print those for each items for clarity's sake. However, trying to write a staff report with all 3 items seemed way too cumbersome. As it is, you might have noticed a number of references within the report to each of the other items you'll be hearing today. So hopefully you're able to follow that. I know it can get a little confusing with multiple project numbers in the same report. So with that preface, we can jump in here to the location of the site and the subject parcels. There are 6 subject parcels for this request, and the locations in Silver Springs, as you can see on the west. That's a vicinity map showing the traffic circle at the intersection of Highway 50 and Highway 95A. Zooming into the parcels on the right, you can see the configuration, and the chart in the middle shows the sizes of the 6 subject parcels. I did box out the top parcel being 800 acres because the total acreage for all 6 is 1,070 acres approximately. And of course, that 800 acre parcel is much larger than the rest. And as we move forward, you'll see that only a portion of this parcel is proposed for amendment. And then as previously mentioned, the 3 items that we'll be hearing today, 7D, 7E, and 7F will all be part of the same applicant's requests. The applicant did provide a number of pictures that included both in the staff report and then here in the presentations, along with the key map. So you can see most of the photos here are on the southern side of the project boundary. That's because as we move forward, you'll see that's where the proposed amendments are located. So this image is looking west from the east side, the southeast side of the project area, along what's called Sapphire Road. I think this clearly indicates it's not really a road. It is on our assessor's plat maps, a designated right of way with a name. but its location is more prominently identified by the presence of power lines. And then moving through the photos, this one is looking south towards Highway 50. I think this indicates some of the topography on the site where you see the location from the photo, but we're not able to see Highway 50 to the south. This photo is looking further west along Sapphire Road. I wouldn't take my car there, but I bet some people in this room have vehicles that could make it. But we also get some indication of some of the topography on the site. And then this photo is looking north. I think from both the key map and then these photos, you can see that the northern portion of the project area is significantly includes more significant topography. Moving into the land use designations, both the master plan and character district displayed here. On the left being the character district maps. You can note that the southern 5 parcels of the project area are designated suburban, and then that large 800-acre parcel holds a rural designation in character district maps. And then the entire master plan designation for all 6 subject parcels is rural residential. Keep having fun with this. Whoa. Someday. Okay, zoning. So as we discuss every time we talk about zoning, with the adoption of Title 15, we also adopted the zoning consistency matrix. That occurred in 2018. The matrix allows us to convert expired zoning district names to current zoning names. In this case, the conversion for all 6 subject parcels is to our rural residential 20-acre minimum zoning district. I did find a little error here in my slide. That 3rd bullet point notes that to the south west is rural residential 2-acre minimum. It's actually southeast, so that would be that kind of turquoise color. But it is notable that to the east, north, west, and a good portion, the majority of the east side share the same zoning as the subject parcels. And then to the south, about 243 acres, I think, is property owned by Microsoft, which in 2022, Microsoft, well, they had a separate applicant name at the time, but the property is now owned by Microsoft, and the zoning was changed to service industrial for that Microsoft property in 2022. So the request details here, we're requesting a master plan amendment to change the designation from rural residential to specific plan for a total of 460 acres. That would include the 5 southern parcels and 190 acres of the largest 800-acre parcel. That 460 acres will be contiguous, and you'll see it coming up here in the next slides. So I did want to take advantage of this presentation to run through a couple quick slides to kind of recap, summarize what a specific plan is. It's not a designation or a request you see often. So Title 15 does address the process for requesting amendment to specific plan, as well as providing some direction for when specific plans are required. The most notable in this case is that any master plan request over 160 acres requires submittal of a specific plan. When we see specific plan, when we've seen specific plans in the past, I think you might recall, for instance, the Sage Vista specific plan you heard at your last 2 months ago. No, last month. You heard an item within the Sage Vista specific plan and
What
date.
was that acreage amount again?
I'm sorry.
When?
Oh,
when it's-
160 acres.
Thank you.
That's
Thanks.
not true. Typically, specific plans will include a multitude of uses. In this case, and we'll move forward, this size requirement really is the trigger for the submittal here of a specific plan, and I hope that makes more sense as I move forward here in the presentation. The description for specific plan in Title 15 mentions, and I pulled out one quote that I thought really kind of summarized it, which is more precise implementation of the master plan. And for planning purposes, what we're expecting from this is that A simple master plan designation would not include the level of detail that a specific plan will. Notably, specific plans will describe more detail about the proposed uses, as well as the proposed uses relationship to adjacent properties. And not to belabor the point, but just sort of to button up the description of a specific plan. A specific plan does provide a mix of land uses, consistent with the character district, with the master plan, with the future planning for infrastructure and services, but it does not change the regulatory zoning for a property. As I know we've discussed previously, zoning is a property right. Those uses are a property right. Approval of a specific plan does not change that, meaning that future entitlements for a zone change or a conditional use permit, a subdivision map would still be required in the future within an adopted specific plan. Pause for a minute in case we have some technical issues.
No, oh, we're okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I just got an email or a text from one of the county commissioners saying they couldn't see the presentation on Zoom. So I was just letting Gavin know.
Oh. Well, hopefully they can still see the back of my head. That's exciting for everyone.
Clear picture.
Yeah.
It's a glare.
It's like mayor.
Okay, so moving on to the exciting description of specific plans. They don't change zoning, they don't change the allowed uses. They do still require applicants to come forward with the standard entitlements that would be required, as well as making findings. But they do provide a framework for the findings to be made for future entitlements. The county manager last month had used this term that specific plans like a mini master plan, and I'm gonna steal that from him and keep using it. So it essentially is a mini master plan. So, that slide. Okay, so moving into the actual request, there's two images here. The first has the entire project area. The next slide will zoom into the actual area proposed for this specific plan. As previously mentioned, the southern area, 460 acres, is the area proposed for the specific plan designation. The remaining 610 acres to the north of the project area is not proposed for amendment, and we do not have any development plans proposed. In other words, it would be maintained at rural residential master plan, rural designation in the character district, and then the zoning of, or the applicable zoning being RR20. The locations for some of the accessory uses are also included in the slides. I think they're better addressed in the next one or in a few slides coming up. The images here are again provided by the applicant within the submittal materials. They show some typical exteriors for a data center, analogous to a warehouse. When you look at the actual structure, the use inside, of course, is significantly different because inside we'd expect to just see rows of computer servers and then the cooling and monitoring systems. The applicant's materials and staff report do address sort of what data centers are and what they provide, but I think the easiest way to recognize that is cloud storage and processing that requires large banks of computers. So this is the zoomed in image for the 460 acre area with some of the existing features and then some of the proposed features. We see on that southern side the existing power lines. I think those are notable, and we'll touch on that in the coming slides. There's a proposed buffer area of at least 100 feet around the entire perimeter of the specific plan. That buffer would come into play in the future when development proposals actually were in front of you or in front of staff, depending on the entitlement path. Data centers require large amounts of electrical power, very large amounts that cannot be provided by the existing power lines. So in the future, were this project to come to fruition, development plans for electrical substations would have to be brought forward before the Planning Commission for sure, presumably still at that time, the Board of County Commissioners, but currently definitely the Planning Commission for conditional use permits. So those locations are not identified. As previously mentioned, this is a master plan level document. So most of the information you're going to see here for the actual placement of development is conceptual. It's the standards that are actually baked into this specific plan. So that would be the buffer area. And that would be some of the other standards that you'll see in the document. Again, it's something I'll touch on coming forward. There is a proposed location for a potential water tank. That still is to be determined. But the idea being putting it at the higher level so that gravity could assist with the function. I did want to throw a quick slide in here for the presentation addressing access. I recognize later that while the applicant's materials do include these images and some language, the staff report, I think frankly, I just missed that, including a slide there. I will add it to the report that goes to the Board of County Commissioners. But Headway Transportation, professional traffic engineer, did do an initial assessment of the traffic needs for these uses. But without an actual project and without actual development plans, the requirement is only for this to be preliminary. But I think most important is the identification of the proposed primary and secondary accesses. Most notably, the primary access coming from the south. So that would be west of the traffic circle, 95A and Highway 50, coming off of Highway 50. Is Carson Street. It's a spur that was added with the NDOT Highway 50 expansion project. Right now, it's just a little spur, and then it moves into those dirt roads that we saw, similar to the ones we saw in the photos. And then secondary access coming from the east is proposed along the Sapphire Road. As we recall, that's not really a road, but it is a designated right-of-way. The applicants have reached out to some adjacent property owners, and staff has been able to assist with coordinating some of that discussion to ensure that proper right-of-way access of the proper dimensions is available. And while this is conceptual at this point, it is important that staff has within the specific plan and within the presentations here, within our recommendations, proposals for access. And the proposals as constituted currently are acceptable and reasonable. So this again is, this slide touches on the actual document of the proposed specific plan and also attached to the staff report in your packet. Again, this is an item that I will add to the staff report because I recognize, again, it's an attachment, but staff didn't really address it in the staff report itself. But the draft document is submitted, has been submitted, reviewed and accepted by staff as being in compliance with Title 15's direction for what's to be required in a specific plan. The Community Development Director, Mr. Henderson, does have some discretion in what is and isn't required. We've been able to determine that this is acceptable as submitted, the content. That direction is found in Title 15, Chapter 211, and the actual document does include items in accordance with that, with the language in 211, including maps showing the topography and some of the constraints being sort of those steepest ridge lines, proposed access locations, conceptual elevations. You saw some of those photos in the presentation. The development standards. So development standards for the proposed project have been submitted in accordance with our service industrial zoning district. The reason being that previously community development and the Lyon County planning have determined that data center uses are analogous to the warehouse use. Of course, the power demand is different, but once the project is completed, the actual building itself has been determined to be analogous to warehouses for our parking requirements, for landscaping requirements, for setbacks, etc. Item 7F that you'll see later on will be the requested zone change to service industrial for this area. So incorporated into the specific plan are standards directly pulled out of Title 15. So first for the service industrial zoning district, and then second, we have standards included in that document for warehouses, for electrical substations, and for high voltage power lines. In other words, the applicant has not come forward asking for variations or some kind of deviation from Lyon County Development Code for the types of uses that are part of this project. They've incorporated our existing standards. So if we spun this forward to 10 years from now, the standards as currently constituted in Lyon County Development Code, and then the specific plan, were it to be adopted, would become the standards for the project. There are descriptions of the accessory uses that would again be the development standards for substations and power lines. And then the timeline. So I already touched on that 10 years. As previously mentioned, data centers require an inordinate amount of electrical power, and just kind of jump ahead as I sometimes do in these presentations. The findings will address this in more detail, but running through the southern portion of the site, on the northern portion of the Microsoft site, is a BLM above ground utility corridor as approved with the 2020 master plan. What this means, if we look through Title 15 and the allowed uses, is that within these approved above ground utility corridors, applicants may come forward to staff with administrative design reviews, staff level review for future high voltage power lines, and not have to go through the conditional use permit process. However, these corridors are associated with the project that we've heard quite a bit about here, the Nevada Energy Greenlink project. The applicant's been discreet and not mentioning it by name. I think that's entirely appropriate, particularly in the specific plan, right? If for some reason the name was changed, maybe that would be the most innocuous reason. But for whatever reason, it's not mentioned. But that is where and how these corridors have been designated. They're designated as such in the 2020 master plan, and they are part of the design here. A very strategic part of why this property was chosen for this use. So going back to the requested action, this slide shows the existing master plan designation on the left of rural residential, and then moving to the right slide, we see the estimated outline of the 460 acres requested for amendment to specific plan. Are there any questions before I keep going? No, it's a lot.
Is that your presentation on the master plan amendment?
No, I
Okay.
still have more.
You still have more.
I
You're
like
just
to talk.
allowing for questions at this.
I
point.
was.
I finished here. Okay.
Yeah, I was.
You know what? Everybody wants a break. If that's okay. with
You need
you.
a break from
So-
Lewis?
I need
It's not the first time we've heard this.
Not your fault.
We're taking a Lewis break.
A Lewis?
Calling it.
That just went in the record.
We'll be back in 7 minutes.
Okay.
It'll be 10:15 when we get back.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody. Our 7 minutes is up. It is 10:15 and we're resuming our meeting. Mr. Carriol, would you
Thank you,
like to
Madam Chair.
carry on?
Hope you all enjoyed your Lewis break. All right, so just gonna run back to prior to the break. The requested action is for master plan designation amendment from rural residential to specific plan for 460 acres as seen on this slide. Never stops.
It went over.
Okay, so within Title 15, Chapter 21003 includes the required findings for a master plan amendment. There are a few additional findings found in Chapter 21104 for specific plan amendments. Much of the language is similar. However, the staff report does address all of the findings individually, with both the applicant's response as well as staff's comments on the response. I already touched on this slide previously in the presentation, but it does feature prominently in staff's findings. Again, the 2020 master plan identified what are called, and I didn't describe this earlier, they're called the BLM above ground utility corridors because they are most prominently associated with that Nevada Greenland project, which endeavors to construct new high voltage power lines, connect both northern and southern Nevada. So we do have a segment, obviously, that runs through Lyon County here, and much of the power is proposed to provide the power for those high voltage lines will come from solar generation projects on BLM property outside of local jurisdiction's authority. And that's why the 2020 master plan designated these corridors as such. So using the findings, staff was able to support the request, but I will run through some of the highlights of staff's findings. The first being consistency with the master plan's goals and policies. I think notably, in addition to the ones provided by the applicant, staff was able to recognize goals and policies that seek to establish a diverse economic base within Lyon County, as well as providing locations for business and industry. That those high voltage power lines are not the type of infrastructure that's appropriate everywhere. The fact that it is proposed to be moving through this portion of Silver Springs really kind of aligns with the type of use proposed and is actually essential for the types of use proposed. So while we don't have, for instance, a project yet from Microsoft, I think it's safe to say we can see they chose this location for the same reason as the applicants did. Future development on the site would it still have to go through all our typical processes. So, you know, I've included language here about building permits and tenant improvements and approval by the fire district for development. But even before that, as previously mentioned, items like the substations would require conditional use permits from Lyon County. And really, I could envision that process essentially looking at the specific plan and then looking at that location of that utility corridor. So there might be some flexibility there if the location's entirely within the corridor. We might have a staff level review for compliance with specific plan instead of the CUP. But if some of the connecting lines, the tie lines were outside of the corridor, then we would bring forward a conditional use. Zone changes would still have to be executed. You'll see that here in a couple items. Character district amendment. Something that I neglected to mention earlier was the 800 acre parcel as proposed here would have a split master plan designation in two items. We'll see the request for a zone change. The next item will be a request for a character district change, also the same configuration, all of them potentially creating this split designation. So in the staff report and in correspondence with the applicant, we do recognize that either a boundary line adjustment or a reversion to acreage some other vehicle to align the parcel boundaries with these requested designations will be required on the heels of any approvals for the items you'll hear today. That's that. So, subject to the findings and the analysis and staff report, staff was able to recommend approval for amendment to specific plan. The motion is here if you need it, and I, of course, am available for questions, but I did want to point out, Madam Chair, the applicant is here as well and doesn't have a presentation. I think that presentation will be, can really provide a little background on who the applicant is, track.
Thank you. I just need to clarify something.
Of course.
Okay, there's 3 different components to this master plan amendment.
No,
are you
this
re-
one is, there's 3 different.
Okay, I found one staff report.
This is that.
On the first one.
Only F has a staff report.
Yeah, this was missing. from-
We are missing staff reports on D and E
I don't,
In our packet.
in our
I did not do
packets.
that. As you might imagine.
So
I
that's
just-
why
I don't write the reports.
I just figured at the end of this would be a good time to ask.
That is a very good time to ask.
I had to find it online and print it, so that.
Oh, you mean it wasn't printed? It was on.
It's not in our packets, is all I'm saying.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
Do we need to confirm it was
Anybody want to look at it?
on record?
I'm, okay,
well,
so I'm
I've
not sure
got-
what
I've
you'd like me to.
got
do next.
your subject on your cover sheet, and I
Okay.
know, but we don't have language for making a motion or
Like-
anything like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
so
what
I
you have
do
on your-
have that in my presentations.
Yeah.
Usually this presentation is the bulk of the project description. The other 2 are somewhat derivative and sort of dependent on the.
Our
let me
motion
step back.
would just follow this description in our cover.
Yes, and I'll have
Okay.
them on the slides, but I did want
Okay.
to point out that the order of the items purposely selected so that we could do this.
I'll let you motion.
I have staff recommendations on mine.
Okay,
Mine came on all 3.
okay.
I have it in 2.
Okay, so Ralph has all 3 of the motions and Shannon has all 3 of the motions. So possibly if I call for a motion, one of those 2 will make a motion.
And I did, well, similar to this one, I did include the motion from the staff report in the slide.
Okay, all
Right,
right.
you,
Look that up.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. Yes, it's okay. It's on the screen. If you wanted to, just hold it. That's why I was a little confused about the way you were presenting it, but it's okay. We're good. Okay. Are you still presenting then?
I-
Or you?
we lost the presentation. I expected to.
Okay.
Soon out,
Okay,
but I'm of course available for questions.
okay. Yes,
Commissioner Sarasola, I just want to clarify that, because that was my question on the parcel having a split master plan recommendation for it. So what you're saying is that moving forward, if this was approved, then the participant would come back with a BLA, boundary line adjustment or something to separate that so they had actual conformance and we wouldn't be in
Yes.
having a split.
Precisely. That is
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
okay, do any of the other commissioners have any questions of Lewis? What about you, Loretta?
No.
Michael?
No.
Well, what, really? Okay. Okay, Shannon,
Just a quick question. You had also mentioned that a water tank may be developed at a future time. Would that be at the cost of the developer if that was presented?
Absolutely. So, I might have blown through some of that, tended to touch on that. Thank you for bringing that up. Mr.
but that's
Sarasola.
not part of the amendment, right? The master plan amendment?
Well, it's not, but it is,
Okay.
so included within,
Yeah.
well, it's in the specific plan.
Okay,
So the specific plan document, is required to provide a timeline, a process, and expected sort of phasing for how and when, utilities like water and sewer, would be provided.
Okay.
So the water provider would be the Silver Springs Mutual Water Company. This property is adjacent to their service boundary. You might note if you read this specific plan document that in the future, when development is imminent, at that point, the appeal to the water company for annexation would have to be made. And then in coordination with the water provider to provide water to the site as well as the needed cooling for the project. Septic would be this Silver Springs General Improvement District, which currently is run by the Lyon County Utility District, and it would follow the same process. Once a project was actually imminent, then annexation would have to occur and connection.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other questions, Shannon?
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, Connie, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes, I didn't write it.
Okay, Ralph,
So at this point, we don't have to worry whether this water company would have the capacity to provide what this data center would need.
The applicant would have to work out dedication of the water rights. And I do believe maybe when the applicant comes up, they've had direct contact with the water company, and they might have a more thorough answer for you. I'm trying to dodge it,
Okay,
but yes, sir.
Thank you.
all right. Anybody have any other questions of Lewis? Is the applicant's representative or applicant here, and would you like to speak?
Good morning, Commissioners. Mitch Nelson, Times Director with Track, so I look for the action. First of all, I want to say thank you guys for having us today, and a special thank you to staff for all the coordination we put in over the last few months. Really good project so far, really good work with them. And thanks to Lewis for the thorough presentation. I won't take too much more time, but we did want to provide a quick introduction to who Track is. We hope this is a long-term partnership, and so wanted to briefly run through some slides introducing ourselves. Yeah, you can play. Awesome. So with me today, introduce myself. I also have Dan Beck, who's our development director, handles a lot of the engineering coordination, as well as Chris Baker with Manhart Consulting, our local civil consultant. And then we also, as was mentioned, we used Headway Transportation as the technical folks for the transportation study that we did, and WestX has done some of our service. So using some local consultants that we're really pleased with. Tract is a data center development company. Our founders, our leadership worked in the data center industry for years, built multiple data centers across the world, and felt that they were equipped to move into this space as a developer, knew the end users' needs and desires. And so what we do is we strategically locate sites that we feel are appropriate for large scale data center development campuses so that we can consolidate those uses in one area. And you can see from the presentation Lewis put together that that's what we are doing here. We also really think that we're equipped to work well with local communities. We have the expertise to make sure that these are not a giant burden, but actually a benefit to the community in the long term. They have economic benefits, which we don't need to get into today, but that's one of the things we realize at the end. But in the meantime, we work to utility infrastructure plans and all the other master plans to make sure these make sense in the communities. And I think the last thing to mention is that we acknowledge these take years of commitment. So we do intend to be partners throughout that time frame and hopefully after as well. A little bit more specific about what we do. So we mentioned site acquisition. We get the property under contract, and during that time frame, we work heavily with the energy providers for power, which we'll talk about briefly. Entitlements, which is what we're doing here tonight, to get zoning approvals so that the property is prepared for future development, and then construction development, something that performs well. So we will, at the right time, end up dragging water and sewer lines to the site, funding those projects, building the water tanks, working with Silver Springs Mutual Water Company and Lyon County Utilities to make sure the site is ready to go. So we do that construction, and we also do have the capability to construct vertically. Our typical business models that we'd sell to a Microsoft or a Meta, but at the end of the day, we also have the ability to build this data center ourselves. So something that we can kind of go to the toolbox. This slide just kind of goes back to what we try and do as far as partnership. I mean, we intend to be a community partner upon approval. Once we've established that we own the property, we want to volunteer. We want to be engaged with some of the things that go on in the community. We want to work with economic development, make sure we're a participating member in that group. And then energy companies is one that's probably the most important in all the same market. So we work with Nevada Energy. I'll get to some of our holdings in Story County, but we're familiar with their processes and the folks there and have a good relationship. And that's important for a project like this. This slide does not have the map up on it, but in general, I'll just touch on the fact that we're in a lot of different markets across the US, and we've gotten to the point where we're under construction on multiple projects. Again, I just want to make sure you guys know we're equipped to perform on our obligations within the specific plan and future approvals. I'm not gonna get too far into the maps, because Lewis did a really great job presenting. I will just quickly touch on one additional highlight within the specific plan was we thought that it was important for additional architectural requirements to exist within a specific plan outside of the code. So we went above and beyond what the code requirement would be, added some requirements for color as well as a variation in the building. So that should align with where this sits in relation to Silver Springs. I'm really hoping the schedule comes up and it won't, so I'll just have to speak to it. Apologize about that, but I wanted to just highlight where we're at in the process and what we've done to date. So we've met with different stakeholders. We have had 2 meetings with the Citizen Advisory Board of Silver Springs. One was an introduction meeting, and the follow-up was actually a week or so ago. I think it was the 4th. And they recommended approval, which I don't know if it was mentioned, but we felt like that was a really good avenue to get some feedback. That was part of the reason for the architectural standards. So that's taken place today. Obviously, we're here today on the 12th. Right now, we are contemplating December Lyon County Commissioners hearing, but that may shift based on notice and working with staff. And then following that approval, when we do the closing on properties, when I mentioned that we start to really get engaged with the community and look to next steps. And then the last thing I want to mention, just on the power front, we do anticipate getting a study back from Nevada Energy in December timeframe. That should give us some more details on how this project will be powered, some of the transmission questions that I'm sure will come. So with that, I won't speak too much more. I'll open up to questions, and I have the tech folks here to answer them.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, do you have anything, Connie? What
I'm
about
good.
you, Mark? Rob?
No.
Okay, we'll get to
No,
them.
just let
And
you know.
this is just,
Yeah.
right now, this is just commissioners
Yeah, it's a lot.
asking questions, and we'll see if any of the consultants want to speak, and then we'll open up to public comment. But right now, Michael, do you have any questions?
No.
Shannon? No, thank you.
No, I'm-
Thank you so much. Did you remember to sign in?
Oh, thank you.
Did any of the consultants wish to add anything? Okay, thank you. Okay, at this moment, we'll open it up to public comment, and there is a hand up. It's Brent Lovett.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brent Lovett with Mineral Heights Apartments. We border, Microsoft borders to our west, and this applicant borders to our north. I just wanted to let the commission know that they have gone above and beyond to work with local property owners to make sure we're all sort of in unison to make sure their property is very successful and their project successful. We have agreed to a realignment of our north corner so that we could bring Carson up and turn it and then go north along the Elm Street alignment. We've tied up one of the other last pieces of property that is needed so that Carson can actually remain a 4-lane road as it comes up, turns and goes to the north. So staff has done an amazing job of working to get us all together, and with Dustin and the roads department and everything else. And we're very excited for this project, and wanted to just throw our support behind it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lovett. Any other public participation? Seeing none, then I'll hear a motion on the master plan amendment. Okay,
Based on the aforementioned findings, I move that the planning commission forward a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for the request for a tract capital management LP for a master plan amendment from rural residential to specific plan on approximately 460 acres of 6 parcels, a total approximately 1,070 acres in Silver Springs, APN 015-091-08. Comma 015-111-01, comma 02, comma 04, comma 05, and 06, PLZ 2024-066.
do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Excuse me. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Now you may proceed again, Louis.
Thank you, Madam. Incidentally, I think maybe I can fix this little technical glitch and, send you all the PowerPoint, from the applicant, figure out a way to send it.
Okay,
It was rather large, so you might end up with a Google link
okay.
open.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, oh no, I need to do something. This is to forward recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Tract Capital Management LP for a master plan amendment to change the character district from rural to suburban on approximately 190 acres of an 800-acre parcel located west of US Highway 95A and north of US Highway 50 in Silver Springs, APN 015-091-08, PLZ 2024-051. And now it's back to you, Louis.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Louis Carriola presenting. So, as previously mentioned, we've got 3 items here for the same applicant and same project. Rather than run through all of this, I think you probably recognize the project area, the 6 subject parcels. But here we're only addressing one parcel, and that's that largest 800-acre parcel. I think it's pretty evident which one that is. Just for the record, the location is northwest, the traffic circle in Silver Springs for highways 50 and 95A. Per the assessor's records, the parcel is 800 acres. And as previously mentioned, the subject of, or a portion of this parcel is proposed for the Silver Springs Technology Park specific plan. Previously mentioned, the zoning, subject to RR20 zoning. And we can see the master plan designation currently for that 800-acre parcel. The north parcel is currently rural. And then the master plan designation being rural residential, but we just heard the item to change a portion of that to specific plan. This image shows that designation on the map as it would be for the master plan designation. And then the actual requested change for this item for 190 acres to change from rural to suburban, as discussed in response to Commissioner Sarasola's question for the specific plan, future boundary line adjustment or reversion to acreage, some other means of aligning parcel boundaries with this proposal would be executed were this item to be approved. So as previously mentioned, the findings for master plan amendment are found in chapter 210.03 of Title 15. The findings for the staff recommendation for approval of the request to change the character district do again prominently feature the location of this BLM above ground utility corridor. And I did want to mention the suburban character district, while not required to all be consistent for the specific plan item you heard previously, they are required for the next request, which is a zone change to service industrial for the entire specific plan area. So the findings do, and the analysis in the staff report do touch on the fact this character district request is sort of required in order to button up the boundary for the Silver Springs Technology Park. As such, staff was able to make a recommendation of approval, and the motion is here and of course available for questions if you have it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Louis on this segment of this application, this project? We're on item 7E, and it's for zoning map amendment to amend. Pardon? Did I say it wrong?
It's a master plan amendment. The character district's a master plan.
To amend the zoning map, I wasn't done. To amend. I was just reading what is written in our.
I think that's the wrong one, Madam Chair. You might
It's-
be reading.
Okay, I might be
item
reading.
7F.
Okay. I give up.
I know, it's confusing because we've got three applications.
Okay.
This
me
one is
too.
for 2024-051.
All right.
Sounds like you're reading 052.
I did, okay. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm seeing everybody say no. This is the planning commission. Does anybody have any questions for the representatives that are here? No? Is there any citizen participation on this segment of the application? Of the project? Okay, then I guess I'm ready for a motion.
I'll motion. Based on the aforementioned findings, I move that the planning commission forward a recommendation to the board of county commissioners for the request from Tract Capital Management LP for a master plan amendment to change the character district from rural to suburban on approximately 190 acres of an 800-acre parcel in Silver Springs. APN 015-091-08. PLZ 2024-051.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, we're on item 7F now.
Yes.
I'm back on track.
Yes, ma'am.
Track.
Nice. Got it.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Okay, so for possible action, to forward a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Tract Capital Management LP for a zoning map amendment from RR5 Fifth Rural Residential District 20-acre minimum to SI Service Industrial on approximately 460 acres of 6 parcels that total approximately 1,070 acres located west of US Highway 95A and north of US Highway 50 in Silver Springs, APNs 015-091-08, 015-111, -01, 2, 4, 5, and 6. PLZ 2024-052. And Louis, carry on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Louis Carriola for the record. We've already touched on everything associated with the actual Silver Springs Technology Park and the specific plan. You've recommended approval for that specific plan. It encompasses 460 acres of 6 subject parcels in Silver Springs. Previous item requested amendment to the character district for 190 acres of the northernmost parcel here in the specific plan. But the current designations, technically, prior to approval by the Board of County Commissioners, do still include split between rural and suburban in the character district and the rural residential master plan. Here is an image on the right showing the outline of the proposed specific plan. If you recall in the presentation for the specific plan, we did discuss the service industrial development standards have been incorporated into the specific plan document for the Silver Springs Technology Park. So the request here is simply to change the zoning that we know from previous presentations is currently subject to rural residential 20-acre minimum to service industrial, which would match the zoning to the south that Microsoft had approved in 2022 for yet to be defined project. So I think we can all put together what the project might be. This project is for a data center within the service industrial zoning districts. Data centers, which have been previously recognized as being analogous to warehouses regarding their external impacts to neighboring properties, are permitted with an administrative design review within the service industrial zoning district, which is why the applicant has requested this change to service industrial for the whole 460 acres within those 6 subject parcels. I think I can probably put a bow on these presentations. But if you have, staff was able to make a recommendation of approval, and the motion is here on the screen. If you have any questions, then of course.
Are there any more questions from Lewis on this segment of of the project? No, Shannon, no, Michael,
Will, we're good to go. I'm good.
Ralph, Mark, and Connie. Okay, what about the representative or the owner? Okay, good. I think a bow might be warranted.
Getting into holiday spirit early.
But we have to wait for public participation. Yeah. Is there any public participation? Dave Hockaday has a hand up.
That's the cursor. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a cursor.
It's yellow. I know, I had to.
Oh, sorry about that. Thanks for removing it so quickly, Dave. Seeing no public participation, I'll call a question. For a
I'll make a
motion.
motion.
Okay.
Based on the aforementioned findings, I move that the planning commission forward a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for the request from Track Capital Management LP for a zoning map amendment from RR5 Fifth Rural Residential District 20-acre minimum to SI Service Industrial on approximately 460 acres of 6 parcels that total approximately 1,070 acres. APN 015-091-08 015-111-01, 02, 04, 05, and 06, PLZ 2024-052.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. You got your vote.
Thank you.
All right. Wow. Complex, but nice. Okay. Okay, so we're on item 8, Community Development Director. Comments and updates.
Good morning again, Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director. Just wanted to give the commission an update and status of the process after found out there was design issues with the roads at Aspen Creek. So I'd like to update you on how we're processing planning applications given the current circumstances involving those design issues. As you may know, these design challenges have impacted our ability to proceed as usual with certain permits and development processes. We're taking a balanced approach to ensure continuity and application review while managing these infrastructure limitations responsibly. In response, we're carefully prioritizing applications that do not exacerbate the current situation for Lyon County utilities for those properties located in the Dayton service area. For any applications potentially impacted by these design issues, we are currently coordinating closely with related departments to explore interim solutions and to adjust timelines as needed. As you saw within the CUP, we adjusted the expiration date for that staff report. So we continue to encourage applicants to consult with us clearly, and us meaning staff, in their process to ensure full awareness of the limitations and potential solutions moving forward. Our goal still remains to provide applicants with as much clarity and guidance as possible while maintaining standards that support sustainable development and responsible use of infrastructure. We thank you for your understanding and we appreciate your support moving forward with this issue. If that was any question.
Does anybody have any questions of Gavin on this issue? I would imagine there are more unknowns about this than there are knowns at this point, right? Okay, and so we're just moving forward.
We are, so,
Okay.
this Friday, there is a special meeting, with the Board of County Commissioners to discuss applications for building permits, planning applications, and to get a better, more clear and concise pictures about how those applications are permits move forward.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for getting us updated on this.
You're welcome.
We've all, I know I've been curious, you know, and kind of wondering how we were going to proceed. You have further updates, I would imagine, though, on applications that came before us, no? from the county commission?
I did not at this time. That was the main priority
Okay. All right,
as far as updating the commission
all right.
with the current issues and circumstances in place right now.
Okay. That being the case, like this, are there any additional commissioner comments and agenda requests? Mark?
My goodness gracious, yeah. No, I just want to thank the folks for their presentation today. I think you're going to be a great neighbor and welcome to this community. I would imagine that a lot of your people will be at the higher end pay scale than a lot of the jobs that we create out here with the technology that's required. And as far as the moratorium, I think I'd like to comment that the commissioners are extremely aware of being the safety and well-being of existing people that live out in the area that the moratorium is placed. And I think that's a great attribute to them that they are concerned about their constituents. So thank you. Oh, also, I'd like to welcome Wendy, our newest elected commissioner, appointed.
She'll join us in January.
Yes, she will.
Is there any public participation? And no action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized, to remind you. And members of the public who wish to address the planning commission may approach the podium and speak on matters related to the planning commission, but not on items appearing on the agenda. And we limit comments to 3 minutes per person or topic. And the matter is, and we won't take any action until it's specifically included on an agenda as an item. Any last call for public comment? Seeing none, it's 10:52 and we're adjourned.